Good morning, everyone. This is Mike O'Malley here with the Hurricane Outlook and discussion for October 5th, 2022, at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time. We have a lot to talk about today, including a hurricane threat increasing for Central America and the Caribbean over the next couple of days. So let's go and jump straight into everything. Taking a wide look across the tropical Atlantic this morning, we noticed that we have two systems out there currently. We have Tropical Depression 12, which is now west of the Cabo Verde Islands, and Invest Area 91L, which is now to the south of Barbados, nearing Trinidad and Tobago. This will be crossing into the Caribbean during the course of today and tomorrow, whereafter additional development is likely, and this system could become the next tropical storm within the next day or two. Taking a look here at the tropical weather outlook from this morning, we noticed that two systems are currently out there. Again, Tropical Depression 12 no longer expected to become Tropical Storm Julia, but Invest Area 91L now up to an 80% chance of development over the next 5 days as this system gradually moves off towards the west, and this could become an increase in concern for portions of Central America over the next couple of days, likely becoming a tropical storm and potentially a hurricane, maybe even a major hurricane. If you take a look here at the visible satellite imagery for Invest Area 91L today, we notice that there is still some dry air, as indicated by some of these arc clouds that are racing away from the storm's environment. But overall, there is much more convection today and centralized convection trying to form a low-level circulation close to Trinidad and Tobago. But the only thing really hindering it right now is going to be that shear from an upper-level low and land interaction with portions of the northern coast of South America. Looking at the aircraft reconnaissance data today, we do actually notice that there is a more organized circulation today that is south right now of Trinidad and Tobago, very close to the northern coast here of South America. And we actually notice there is a little bit of tropical storm force flight level winds on the eastern side of the circulation. So this is definitely becoming a little bit better organized today. Still a little bit messy for classification purposes, but it is certainly getting close to becoming Tropical Storm Julia. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see that designation sometime later tomorrow, maybe even early tonight if this thing gets organized quick enough. So taking a look here at the H4 forecast, this is the 06Z run valve for 11 a.m. this morning. We notice where our storm is currently right now. It is now entering the eastern part of the Caribbean. And over the next several days, the storm is likely to struggle a little bit because of dry air and shear within the proximity of this system, but eventually by Saturday here on the H-Wharf, this begins to deepen, and we notice a strengthening hurricane on approach to Central America sometime by Sunday morning. Now, this is just one model solution, but of course, this is a solution that would bring some pretty substantial impacts to portions of Central America, as this would be a strengthening hurricane on approach. Now, if we look at the latest GFS forecast, for instance, we notice that the 12Z run here is a little bit weaker with our overall storm. We're looking at the 850 millibar vorticity, or the spin in the atmosphere at 5,000 feet off the ground. And we notice here that, again, our storm is a little bit weaker for several days and is not really able to intensify as much until it nears the coast here. And eventually, sometime here by later on the day Sunday, we have, again, a strengthening storm on approach to Central America. So it seems like this is a very clear trend that this might struggle for several days out here in portions of the eastern Caribbean. And then once it gets out here to about near Jamaica's longitude here, this starts to intensify in quick earnest and becomes a tropical storm, potentially even a hurricane as it approaches this area. Either way, some heavy rainfall, flooding, and gusty winds are likely for these areas over the next couple of days. Looking at these spaghetti plots for Invest Area 91L today, we notice that there might even be a west-southwest trajectory over the next couple of days before moving off towards the west-northwest here, and then moving in towards the Central Caribbean, and then eventually closer to Central America within the next 5 or 6 days. Again, this is something to continue to monitor for those areas. We could see a little bit of a north or south jog depending on how quick this ends up getting organized. So continue to monitor the progress, especially if you live in the Cayman Islands or the Yucatan Peninsula. Looking at our Futurecast product, this starts off at Saturday, 8 a.m. in the morning. We're taking a look here at the impact risk for portions of Central America and the Yucatan Peninsula. So we'll go ahead and run this forward here. We continue this forward into about Sunday at 6 a.m. in the morning, and we already have those significant impacts beginning to roll in across portions of the eastern coastal areas of Central America there. And then those elevated impacts extend even far inland about 20 to 50 miles inland, as some of those outer rain bands could cause some squall-like conditions, heavy rainfall, and isolated flooding in those regions. Continuing on here until Monday at 12 a.m. in the morning, we continue to see those impacts roll inland, and now we've got some of those higher end impacts reaching the far stretches of the eastern coastline here, with those elevated and significant impacts now extending well inland by Monday morning. Now, this is very preliminary based on the track and where the guidance takes us over the next couple of days, but you kind of get the idea here. Now, switching over to the rainfall forecast, we can see this is valid for Saturday, 8 a.m. in the morning. We'll continue to roll this out forward in time here. And as we head out towards Sunday at about 12 a.m. here, we know we have that rain beginning to increase. And now you can see some of those rainfall totals beginning to increase right along the coast, about just a ½ inch of rain right there immediately along the coast there. So again, those heavy rainfall totals will be slow to come in at first, but once they start to come in, you'll start to see that flooding threat begin to increase as we roll forward. So then as we head out through Monday morning at 12 o'clock in the morning here, we notice those heavy rainfall totals beginning to push inland, and now we have some of those 4-inch rainfall totals beginning to approach the coastline here. So again, those flooding threat will increase. That flooding threat will increase as we head out through Monday morning. And again, this is very subjective to change based on the track and timing of how the system evolves. But you can see here clearly going from about Sunday afternoon and evening into Monday morning, we're going to start to see those rainfall totals increase and that flooding threat increase as we progress throughout the day. Then, of course, this only continues to deteriorate as we go throughout the day on Monday. So some important key messages for Invest Area 91L today. The storm threat is increasing for portions of Central America and the Western Caribbean at this time. However, this does not look like a threat to the United States, and for that matter, does not also look like a threat for portions of Cuba or the Cayman Islands. However, it is still important to continue to monitor the progress of this system. There's also the threat for significant impacts to Central America starting late this week and into early portions of next week. Again, the timing and the exact location is going to change over the next few days, so continue to check back on the forecast. When looking at the overall threat impacts for Invest 91L to portions of Central America, again, the main threat here is going to be that flooding concern. There is now a high risk for flooding across portions of Central America. That area is always very susceptible to flooding issues. That storm surge, wind damage, and tornado threat still remains on the low end, just simply because there's not a lot of high confidence in where this storm might be positioned and how strong it might get. However, there's definitely an increase in concern for a potential hurricane landfall today compared to yesterday, so it is imperative that you continue to check back on the forecast as it will continue to change, and review your hurricane preparedness plans now. Overall, looking further down the road here in terms of where this system might end up going and if there is a threat to the United States, we're looking at the GFS 500 millibar heights here. We're looking at the height anomalies. We notice that currently right now there is actually a weakness in the ridge that would allow a storm that is already there and strong to move northward into the Gulf of Mexico. However, of course, right now, look at the time. This is current and our storm is not strong and it's nowhere near this area to feel this weakness. So over the next couple of days, we do have a ridge that will begin to build back in here on the GFS forecast. And we notice that by Tuesday, we have a building ridge over the southeast U.S. and the Bahamas. This will likely shut the door on any potential intrusions from this system into the Gulf of Mexico. Of course, it is still imperative to continue to monitor the progress of this system. However, right now, I am not concerned as far as a Gulf of Mexico or Florida threat from this particular system. But of course, lots can change between now and 6 and 7 days from now. So continue to check back. So with that being said, of course, I hope you have a great rest of your afternoon, evening. This is Michael O'Malley, and I'll be talking to you guys again some more tomorrow.